What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Malik's Water Garden. I just wanted to say I've been keeping angelfish since I was a little child. I bred my first pair of angelfish when I was 7 years old. I'm almost 40 years now. I'm going to be 40 years this year. So I have been keeping and breeding angelfish for well over 33 years. So I'm going to give you all the knowledge that I have in these fish in basic short videos. The first one's going to be a care and maintenance video, which is what you're watching right now. Please watch the video till the end. There's going to be a lot of valuable information. And if you want me to make separate videos about how to breed them as well as fry raising, comment below and let me know, and I will make those for you. Thank you so much, and please feel free to watch all my other videos. There's a lot of information and on fish keeping and breeding, and also check out my playlists on the channel. So let's get into this video. We're actually sitting in front of my angelfish tank, and we're gonna do a video about how to take care of your angelfish from basic care and maintenance, temperature requirements, and feeding and all that good information. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe down below and hit that notification icon and help us get to 500 subscribers as soon as possible. The channel is growing really fast, so thank you everybody that has subscribed. And everybody that hasn't subscribed yet, about 65% of you guys have not subscribed to the channel. That's what the data is showing me. So please subscribe, it really helps me out, and watch the video till the end where I will talk about how all the fry that I have in the tanks. Angelfish fry. There is actually a bunch of angelfish fry in this tank. If you can see, I will put a close-up of them. This female black veiltail is actually guarding the clutch, and the male is right beside her, which is the red marble. They're an unrelated pair, and these guys are doing their best to raise this big clutch of fry. There's at least 500 fry maybe in that one batch. I'm going to talk about basic care and maintenance. If you guys want an extended video about fry raising and breeding, please comment below and let me know, and I will make that for you. As always, I'm trying to do more general fish videos and general care and maintenance videos for more commonly available aquarium fish, because you guys are requesting that. So comment below and let me know if there's other types of fish that you want me to do videos on in terms of care and maintenance. So let's get into this video and talk about angelfish. What are angelfish? So basically they're a type of South American cichlid. Yes, they are cichlid. They can get quite large. These fish you're looking at in front of you are actually about maybe 12 inches from top to bottom when they're extending all their fins. The water column that you're seeing is about 21 inches. This tank is 24 inches tall. So this is a very large tank, and you can see how long the extended fins of the female is. Her fins are equally as long as her body, if not longer. Look how long she is. Look how beautiful she is, right? So they do get quite large, and they live quite long lives. These guys are about 4 years old now, and they are an unrelated pair. They're about the same age. I bought them from a friend of mine who breeds them. So they were bred two separate pairings, and I got 6 of each, and this is one of the pairs, one of my best pairs that I actually work on, and I take quite a bit of fry out of. So I have 3 actual breeding pairs in my collection right now that are breeding. And this is the one pair that I focus on quite heavily, because I'll put some B-roll footage of all the other pairs and you'll see why I like this pair the most. But I do take fry out of the other 2 pairs as well, and one of my other pairs is an exceptional parent pair, so I let them raise some of the fry for me, and you probably have seen their videos in the channel in the past. If you haven't, I highly recommend you go and check those out after you watch this video. I'll put some links at the end of this as well. Also, if you want me to make an extended video on how to breed them, please comment right below and let me know that you want me to make a video about how to breed them as well as fry raising, because I do have quite a bit of fry in the fish room, so I can do an extended video on how to raise the fry as well as breeding. Without further ado, let's look at some of the basic care requirements. These guys are, in my opinion at least, they're detritivores, and I believe a lot of the experts, the ichthyobiologists would agree with me on this. They don't actually have a very extensively large digestive tract. If you can see how big the fish is, they're similar to a discus. This fish is basically, the entire body of this fish is this section here. So about that much of the fish, and out of that section, the mouth is there and the anus is down below the extended bottom fins here. So you can see how long, like on this one here for example, you can see how long that digestive tract is. You know, realistically it's not a big digestive tract area, so you want to consider that these fish require food relatively frequently. So if you have like I feed mine once a day, quite heavily actually. If you've seen some of my feeding videos, you've probably seen how much food I throw in this tank, and they do eat quite a bit. These are large fish, so they require a lot of fuel for their bodies, so I do feed them quite heavily once a day. If you are able to, it is recommended you can feed them 2 to 3 times in smaller amounts. It's probably more better for the fish, as well as your water quality. So if you are able to do that, that's something I recommend doing. And sometimes when I do want to breed them heavily, or if I'm trying to get several clutches, or if the females are going gangbuster like this girl is right now, because I just took a clutch of eggs out of her recently, I do feed them a couple of times a day, more frequently in smaller amounts. The next thing is you want to feed them a high quality, high protein diet, and you want to stick away from things like bloodworm. I don't like feeding frozen bloodworms. I do feed a little bit of freeze-dried bloodworms to these guys because they do enjoy eating it quite a bit. But I try not to give them bloodworms more than once a month, because it does cause bloat if you feed them bloodworms more than a few times a month. So that's something to keep in mind. And what I like to feed mine predominantly is tetratropical color granules, especially because I want to get the nice red coloration on the males, and the fry as well, so they get a lot of red pigment enhancing food. That's something to consider. Like, the reason this fish is nice and red and bright and beautiful, like how he is looking, the male here, is because I feed it. Also, it has great genetics, but also the diet plays a huge role in keeping the fish's color. So I also feed them Nutrifin bug bites, color enhancing granules. They seem to really enjoy that stuff with the bug larvae formula, and that seems to really work in terms of getting the colors on the fish, and as well as the spawning. These guys spawn every 2 weeks. You've seen other videos. I put some video of me collecting fry a couple of weeks ago, exactly 2 weeks to date actually, I think, or to tomorrow. So they spawn pretty much every 2 weeks, and you can see all these fry. There's like a lot of fry right now. And the problem with this pair actually is that if I let them raise the fry, they become overwhelmed when the fry start free swimming, and they try to collect them too much, and they end up eventually killing the fry because they exhaust them by over collecting them and trying to put them back into one area, because it's a lot of fry. These guys have like maybe spawns of upwards of 600 fry at a time. They're a mature pair, they're large, and they produce quite regularly, and they are able to live quite long lives. So you want to keep your water quality high. You want to keep I mean, the aquarium strains that we can get are not going to be too picky about pH and TDS and stuff. They can breed up to about 8.0 pH. I've seen them even higher sometimes. Breeding wise, my pH here is at 7.4. So this tank has under gravel filters. That's what it has going for it, and because of that, it does keep the nitrate levels low quite a bit. But regardless, as the nitrates and the tank water not deteriorates, but does become a little bit more aged, the spawning success rate is higher. So if you want me to make extended video about how to spawn them, I'll make that for you. So you want to keep really clean water for your angelfish. That definitely seems to be a very key factor in keeping them alive long term, especially If you want to have healthy fish that live for 10, 12, 15 years plus, you want to keep up with your weekly water changes. I do 50% water change in this tank. You want to keep low nitrates. It doesn't have to be like zero or anything like that, but like keep them as low as humanly possible. And also keep up with those water changes so that the fish are in clean, pristine water, or healthy, as clean water as you can get the water to be in an aquarium setting. The next thing is the temperature. I keep mine at between 75 degrees Fahrenheit to about 82 degrees Fahrenheit. 82 degrees Fahrenheit being the highest, and 75 being the lowest. In terms of Celsius, that would be about 24 degrees Celsius to about 28, 29 degrees Celsius. So those are ideal ranges. They can live a little bit cooler or a little bit warmer for a short period of times, but I wouldn't try to push it just because they are tropical fish, and they are, used to being in warmer types of water. So those are the two things about water quality and chemistry. In terms of TDS and hardness and stuff, it doesn't really seem to matter for the aquarium strains. I would recommend that you stay away from Altums and stuff if you are not an experienced fish keeper, simply because Altum fish are usually wild caught, and if you get them, they're not going to be used to being in higher pH water. So you would want to provide your wild caught Altums that come in with low TDS, low pH water, that is pH of about 6.0 or lower. And after a period of a few months, you can bring the pH up, and you can acclimatize them to living in our tap water without an issue. But even then, I wouldn't push an Altum fish that comes from the wild to be in pHs of upwards of 7.5 and a TDSs above 200 parts per million of calcium hardness. And that's basically it in terms of water chemistry and whatnot. And I give these guys 6 hours of daylight. It's a planted aquarium. All these plants are alive, and they have undergravel filters running the aquarium. So good filtration is definitely a must. It doesn't matter what type of filter you use. You want to have heavy filtration with low flow, especially if you are going to keep these whale tail varieties. You do not want to have a high flowing power head or intake for like canister filter or anything like that, or even a hang on the back filter that has a high intake, because these fish can get their fins sucked into the intakes. So that's something to really keep in mind. And I would definitely recommend sponge filters if you are going to keep whale tail varieties, or undergravel filters, or any other types of filters that does not have a large intake opening that can potentially suck these delicate fish's fins and stuff in. So that's something, I mean, it's up to each person to figure that one out. I can't really recommend exactly what will work in your own application, but I will say this: if you do have a high flowing intake, your fish will eventually end up in your filter intake, basically attached to it, half dead, half alive, simply because at some point or another they will succumb to the flow of the tank and get sucked in. Okay, because they are delicate in terms of their finnage and stuff like that, especially the whale tail variety. So really have to take care into consideration. But if you do all those things, you can keep these guys alive for about 15 years. 10 years is an average good amount, and there are records of them being alive even longer. That's something you can definitely enjoy for a very long time. So even though they are going to cost you quite a bit of money, especially for the whale tail varieties and stuff like that, these guys will sell for a couple of $100 right here. They are worth the money that you spend on them, because they will live a long time, and they will provide you with a lot of visual stimulation and enjoyment, and a lot of babies, lots and lots of babies. You can see right here how much babies I'm getting. So if you guys want me to make a separate video about breeding, please comment below and let me know. I will make a separate video about breeding and also fry raising. So comment below and let me know. When you do buy your angelfish, If you do go to a pet store, I recommend buying at least 6 fish at a time, and don't buy adult fish. Oftentimes, when you go to a store and you see a big fish like this size, what you're gonna get is a fish that's close to the end of its life cycle, or at least its breeding cycle. And larger fish, even though they will live a quite long time in your fish tank, they could potentially live up to another 5 to 10 years from the time you get them. The potential of you breeding that fish is very low. If you do wanna, what you wanna do is get at least 6 fish that are between a dime and a nickel size to about a $2 size. In America or in Canada, a Canadian $2 size, which is about a 7 to 8 month old fish. So anything under 7 to 8 months, and you want to get them at least 6 of them at a time and grow them up together, which will give you a mated pair or two. Sometimes you might get lucky and get 3 mated pairs, but if you have 6 fish, you are most likely going to end up with 1 to 2 mated pairs and a couple of odd fish out, which you can take back to the pet store and trade or sell to somebody else, or add to the rest of your display tanks, or figure out what else you want to do with them. So these are things to consider when you buy them. You don't want to just buy them if you have one fish tank. You don't want to get one angelfish. It's not as enjoyable to have just one. You can't really have more than a pair, mated pair in a tank either. So that's something to keep in mind. When they do eventually mature out and they do become spawning size, unless you have like a 100-gallon aquarium, you can't really have more than one pair. When you do have a 100-gallon or 100-gallon aquarium, you can have about 6 fish, safely, or a group of adults. But then there's always going to be issues with aggression, and when there's spawning happening, there's going to be fin nipping. Especially if you're going to keep some of these whale-tail varieties, that's not going to be practical because all their fins are going to be shredded to bits. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Ideally, what you want to do is to get 6 of them, and then to get pairs separated out into tanks, at least 20 gallons per pair. These guys are in a 35-gallon tall, and they seem to do fine in this tank, and I keep these guys in this particular tank because they breed in this tank quite well for me, and I definitely am focusing on these as breeding fish. So thank you so much for watching the video till the end. I'm gonna cut it short now and say that if you want me to make a separate video about fry raising and breeding, please comment below and let me know. And thank you so much for watching the video, and as always, I love you all. I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless.